Minasan konnichiwa. Today we are joined by our esteemed guest, Macthedaygamer. He's based out of Japan. I'm very happy that we managed to get him in for an episode, and we're really gonna discuss Japan, Japanese masculinity. We're even gonna branch into Ireland for a little bit, and I think we could have a very interesting episode. Currently, if you would like to learn more from him, he is doing a course with John from Modern Life Dating, Pandemic Pickup, the Delta variant. So big into teaching, big into day game. I want to say a big thank you for joining, and please tell us, how did you get started in game, day game, and the whole thing?
Cool stuff. Thank you for having me on the show, and thank you for that nice introduction. So, I basically got into game pretty much after I moved to Japan. That was in 2015. So, originally I decided, I was going to live somewhere in Asia. I was looking to, just get out of Ireland for a year. I wasn't planning on leaving Ireland for a very long time. I was like, just get some experience. I wanted to try and live abroad. I'd never lived abroad before. Um, I was before I left Ireland, I was dating this Korean girl, and then she went back to Korea, because her visa ran out, and I was going to follow her over to Korea, but my brother saw that I was kind of, he was kind of getting a little bit red pilled by Rollo Tomasi, and he had read The Rational Male, and he sent, just when I was telling my brother I was going to do that, he sent me some articles from The Rational Male, uh, and one of them was There Is No One. It's just a short article by Rollo Tomasi, and another one called Navigating the SMV, Navigating the Sexual Marketplace. Yeah, SMP. So yeah, that was a good. They kind of really opened my mind. They're just short articles, but kind of, you know, I was kind of annoyed at my brother for trying to get it involved in the way of my plans, but ultimately they made a lot of sense to me. And it was like, I was 25, 24, 25 at the time. So I really shouldn't have been trying to, follow a woman over to the other side of the world, entering her frame. It didn't, it made a lot, those articles made a lot of sense to me, even though I didn't, initially, I really hated them. I saw it as an attack on me by my brother. So I was kind of annoyed at him, but ultimately it was a good thing to have come across. So, I got accepted to teach in Japan, you know, on a, it's called a JET program. I'm definitely not on it anymore. There's no way I could do what I do now and be on something like that, you know. Um, so it's called Japanese Exchange Teaching Program. It's like, if you want to teach in Japan, it's pretty good entry point into Japan. Everything you get set up, you get an apartment, for teaching English in Japan. I don't think it gets any better. It's not amazing, you're not going to be rich, but it's comfortable. I mean, it's about 3 grand, 3,000 US dollars per month. I mean, for teaching English in Japan, it's pretty good. It's not, like I said, you're not going to make bank off it, but you can get by pretty damn easily in Japan. Um and the workload's pretty simple. So yeah, I mean, I come from Ireland, so the way we would meet women in Ireland is through alcohol, through bars and clubs, and it's all very kind of repressed in that way that there's no day game in Ireland. I mean, I'm not saying no one does day game in Ireland. I'm sure there are some guys that do it, but it's limited. Like, it's a very small country. Everyone knows each other. A lot of the towns and cities, very small. You could do it. You could get away with doing it for a certain time in some of the, in Dublin or Cork or some of the bigger cities. But even in those cities, it would be kind of limited. You would run out of, like, you would get a name, a reputation very quickly. But still, anyway, I didn't do day game in Ireland because I wasn't really red pill at the time. It was only when I started. It was only when I came to Japan, and a little bit before that I became red pilled, and it also coincided with me stopping drinking alcohol. I quit in alcohol in 2014. I've fallen off the wagon a few times, but I'm pretty much back on the wagon now. There's been a couple, but there's like for most of that period, I didn't drink alcohol, and I don't drink alcohol now. So when I got to Japan, um, then I was up in a northern city, which was like pretty big. Coming from Ireland, it was a big city to me. And did you have a question?
Yes, thanks. I almost don't want to interrupt because you're covering
Mm.
such great ground.
Oh, it's all
And
good.
I almost want to ask you, because I see this journey of growth you've sort of gone on where you saw how things were done in Ireland and you saw where you were in your life. And I almost want to add a bit more context to that. And I'll just tell you some of the little things I heard about Ireland that, for me, shaped what makes Irish culture. So, a big part of it is the location. So, uh, sorry guys, I'm not going to share screen. Use your imaginations. The island of the United Kingdom. You've got England on one side, and you've got Ireland very close. And a friend of mine who's Irish explained to me the reason why Ireland was able to survive and not be, sort of absorbed by Britain is because the people had a strong enough culture. And it, when someone describes something like that, there's a very specific type of masculinity that develops an identity and says, "No, I am this, and I will last. I will continue." And that I think continues to this day because I had another friend who visited Dublin for a while. So I asked him, "Oh, how is Dublin?" And he was saying, "Oh, the Google headquarters is here," and a couple of different things. And there's a certain, again, going back to culture, idea of masculinity, social norms that are sort of protected and people have to continue with. So when you mentioned you were 25 and thinking of traveling, there was something perhaps within you that decided I'm going to stray from the normal. Because usually when you have that sort of culture, in your 20s, people expect you to be married. If you're dating a girl for longer than 3 years, the expectation is like, so you're going to marry her, right? If that sounds correct, would you say I'm close or I've got the complete wrong idea?
Uh, these days it's not very traditional.
Okay.
Nah, it's more like it's more like being absorbed by globalism.
Mm,
It's not very unique from unfortunately, it pains me to say it, but it's not very unique from any kind of other Western country. Very similar. It gets all those progressive politics has
uh,
been absorbed in Ireland. We had all the any kind of progressive agenda you see going on in America. I mean, they were celebrating the way women were celebrating abortion in Ireland.
oh
And
no.
to be honest, I'd probably consider myself pro-choice up until a point, but it turned my stomach
Mm.
the way these all these women were out celebrating abortion. Like it was just the nasty, man, nasty masculine women, nasty, like just disgusting, really. And like I said, I'd be pro-choice up until a point, but just the way in which that so it has been kind of globalism and kind of Ireland has lost a lot of identity over the
Um,
very
So it's
quickly, I
not
would
like the
say.
movie The Departed, no cool accents,
I
Guinness
mean,
flowing like water.
you'll have cool, like there
Mm,
are like going to be there are still people, like you'll hear accents and
mm,
whatnot, but a lot of then but it's a lot of people will almost have an American accent, and it's like
mm, mm.
and it I think the beer bug, we'll call it the beer bug. I don't want to
Mm.
get your channel flagged or whatever, but you
My
know
small channel.
yeah, but they basically that whole thing wrecked Ireland, and
Mm,
everyone is yeah, they shut down the entire uh bar industry, bar, and so but going to bars and pubs was a huge part of Irish culture, and
Mm.
they took that away. So,
Ouch. So I think everyone has sort of had to adapt, and I think Irish culture is going to have to also make the new form of it. I felt the same way about Japan, where every month it felt like Japanese culture was changing. Shibuya Crossing was there's always a new evolution, new words being added to the language, and I almost have to ask, when you were in Ireland, what is the stereotypical ideal Irishman? What was in society that was making you what could make someone the top of Irish society?
what was my ideal, or what
Or what
was
was just society's ideal? Like I feel the same way in South Africa. When I was in university, there were just certain things that put you at the top of society. The big one was being on TV. If you were
okay,
on TV, you could get with a lot of girls. If you were
okay,
maybe if you had a BMW or a Mercedes, now Audi sort of take it. But if you had that car, it said I made it. If you were on TV, you had that
all
particular
right,
car. And I think if you played a professional sport, rugby was the sport to play. You didn't even have to be on the actual field. If you were a bench member of the Springbok team, you were gonna get pussy. Like you're gonna
okay,
get pussy like you worked in freaking animal control and you caught stray cats. That's how
okay,
much pussy you were gonna get.
right. Yeah,
The
it's an
having
interesting.
hair in South Africa didn't really matter. You could have a bald head. It was all good. TV,
Right.
money, you were good.
All right. Yeah, I mean it's an interesting question. I mean, I guess, being a being a sports player, being a rugby player might, be seen as being the top, being on the Irish rugby team. What else? I don't know, maybe being a musician or being in a band. Like, like I said before, Ireland is like it's a very small country. I mean, the whole island is like 6 million people. Depending where you're from, for a whole country, that's not a lot, right? So, um, I think there's only like living the player lifestyle, or getting a lot of pussy is kind of limited in Ireland because of the fact that everyone knows each other. Not obviously not everyone knows each other, but I mean, it'd be difficult to be like slaying pussy, like having a new girl every week. Where in Japan that's possible, like because the sheer numbers, like the population in Japan is like the population is like 127 million. Um, so I guess if a guy's on a rugby team in Ireland, he might get with a good looking, like a really hot girl, or perceived to be as being really hot, maybe in Ireland. But now that I've lived in Japan, God, it's just like Japan. The beauty standard in Japan is like it's
Something
insane.
else, eh? It is
It's
something
insane.
else.
Like Western women, they can't compete.
Mm,
They cannot. I mean, there are hot Western women, but just compared to the numbers in Japan, they're so few and far between. Like
mm.
now my standards have gone so much higher since coming to Japan.
That's
Um,
interesting. If we had to do a comparison, so we talked what makes like the ideal society's ideal Irishman. What do you think makes the ideal? Okay, we'll do two. The ideal Japanese person and the ideal foreigner. Because I think the foreigners and the locals play a very different game.
right.
Mm,
Yeah. So I think, the ideal Japanese man, I
mm.
guess, it depends on the age group. Then again, are you
Yep,
talking about a 19-year-old girl, or are you talking about a 27-year-old girl? What's
yep.
their ideal man is going to be different. So, I mean, a 19-year-old girl, like her ideal 19 to 21, her ideal man is going to be like this soft looking K-pop, like pink hair, kind of like, like wearing this like weird fashion, like K-pop style. If
Mm,
anyone that doesn't know what K-pop or J-pop is, look up,
mm.
male K-pop stars. You'll get this fluffy looking, usually they're kind of tall, but,
Mm,
very effeminate, like wearing like long earrings and pink hair, blue
mm,
hair, maybe green hair. I don't know. very soft, no facial hair, definitely no facial hair. Like they'll have baby skin, like
Mm.
they'll even wearing makeup. There won't be a like just flawless face, like really not a masculine face. Like just that'll be your ideal
Mm.
guy for a a 19 to 21 year old, teen girls up until
Mm.
21, 22. This kind of like very fashionable, very effeminate, you know, I guess kind of tall
Mm.
guy, you know. So that's but as girls get older, they'd probably prefer more, as a guy that has a good job and
Yep.
tall, wears a suit. Japanese girls love men that wear suits,
Mm.
you know, but still that kind of chic, a guy that's like a guy that has money. Japanese girls
Yep.
fucking love money. That's
Yep.
one thing. They prefer money over looks, and that's
And
a
they
fact.
openly say it, like
They prefer
yeah.
money over looks. I mean,
Even
it's
among foreigners, one of the main things they look for, even which country you're from, in the back of their mind, they're doing the calculation of what's that country's GDP per capita, and they
right.
calculate.
Yeah,
So I used to shoot myself in the
it
foot because they're not say where I was from. All they hear is
yeah.
Africa, and it's like English teacher.
They're
You're done. Thanks for playing. You're done.
yeah. There's one thing like it's got to be said. Like Japanese society can be very snobby, extremely snobby.
Mm.
That's why like like they don't know about Ireland either. They're like, "What's Ireland?" Most of them, you ask the average Irish person, "What where's Ireland?" Some of them might say, "Beside England, is it near England?" And
Mm.
they don't know anything about it, so it doesn't pique their interest. But if you say you're Italian or French, they'll get wet. They'll get excited. Because it has a snobby fucking image. They love that snobby shit.
Are we
They
starting
love that.
black pill
They
Japanese
start
content? What's going on here?
they start they start fantasizing about this all obnoxious kind of pretentious shit like eating bread from a bakery. And Japan is a very wealthy country. It's like the third largest country in the
Yep, third largest economy.
the
Yep.
third largest GDP or whatever, the third
Yep.
largest economy in the world. So they're not like looking to escape Japan. Like they're not looking like to meet a rich foreigner and
Yep.
escape like they would from, got to be honest, like you'll find a lot of girls like that in
Yep.
Thailand, Philippines, like poorer East, Asian countries. That's a reality in those countries. And
Survival game.
you're being stereotypical, you're being racist. No, that's a fucking fact. Like, right. They want to, it's kind of a fantasy of them leaving the country and
Mm.
getting whipped away by a prince or whatever, some bullshit fantasy.
Yeah.
It can happen. But in Japan, that's not the case because it's a wealthy country. I mean, they have, it's not a thing. And a lot of Japanese girls are very happy here. So
Mm.
like, if it's more about the romanticism of it. They imagine like all this cheesy bullshit about themselves going to the Eiffel Tower with a French guy or whatever. So yeah, French guys get a lot of pussy here because of that, that kind of imagery it creates.
Yep.
Maybe same as Italians. So I can't rely on that. I'm Irish. They don't even know what the fuck that is. And Irish has more of a working class image anyway.
Oh
It's
well.
kind of like Irish, dirty old town, kind of like that, rough, scruffy, kind of like fighting Irish kind of thing. That doesn't appeal to most 99% of Japanese girls, like that kind of
Oh well.
masculine, like rough, drinking beer, that
Mm.
kind of tough image. Even though, to be honest, that image is kind of a myth in Ireland. There
Oh
is
well.
that image, but it's also there is that element to it. It is there, but these days it's gotten a lot softer and like
Mm.
I said earlier, it's gotten more globalized and all the shit. But yeah, that's just so the ideal foreigner, that's I guess what I was getting at there. The ideal
Yeah.
foreigner is like some handsome all they'd also kind of want the foreigner to look kind of soft.
Okay.
Like it's not that they wouldn't like muscle. I'm sure they'd like a guy that has muscle, but they'd want a baby face foreigner. Like think of what, like I guess who's a good example? I don't know. Think of like I don't know, someone from the
Justin
band One
Bieber.
Direction. Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber
I
would
guess
clean up in
yeah, Justin
in
Bieber, I
Tokyo.
guess.
Just my opinion,
Yeah,
but
or One Direction.
yeah.
You obviously know that
Oh my
boy
goodness.
band.
Those guys
Those
are
kind of soft, like looking like. masculine guys, like you obviously know Conor McGregor.
Mm.
Like he's the most famous Irishman around now.
It would have
That
been too
kind of
stereotypical for me to say it. I'm like, nah, I don't want to piss Mac off. I just met the guy. I don't want to piss him off just yet.
no, but that kind of like rough image would not does not go down well with Japanese women.
Mm.
That doesn't really, for the vast majority of them, that's not going to,
Mm.
they're not going to be into that that kind of like badass, like, but they'd rather a pussified guy. It's
Mm.
Japan is weird,
Mm.
like that.
Do you think Logan Paul would still stand a chance in the Japanese dating market? I mean, he's got the clout and the money, but
He is clout and money.
that's all he
They're
is.
all about that. That's, he would, yeah, I'm sure he'd clean up with you're familiar with the girl. You obviously know about Gaijin hunters. He'd clean up with them for sure. But
Yeah. They're a
there's
special type, eh?
the creme de la creme of Japanese society. The creme de la creme, the
Yep.
absolute stunningly perfect,
Mm.
hot girls. They will most of them. I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying the vast majority of them will not touch a foreigner with a barge pole. They won't go
Yep.
near a foreigner. It doesn't matter how good looking you are, or how, if you have this, that, and the other. They're just not into foreign guys.
Mm.
They go for a different look. They're into a different, softer look, like
Mm.
an Asian look. And a lot of the biggest misconception um is that as a white guy, you're just gonna, like, you just have some kind of advantage. No, it's the opposite. Like, you're at a disadvantage as a foreigner. So I'm not saying there's no difference between the foreigners. There's obviously a totem pole.
Yep.
Like, there, like,
Yep. There's a hierarchy.
like,
Agreed. There's a
there is a
hierarchy.
hierarchy.
And it
But
varies
that
depending on the person and the area, what they've been through in their life. There's certain things that make it the way it is.
Right. So that's the savage truth. But
Mm.
in saying that, like I said, there's certain girls, it doesn't matter what kind of foreigner you are, they're not going to be into you. But the girls, then you have the Gaijin hunters, and they're going to be into a certain kind of Gaijin. A certain Gaijin, obviously, for
Yep.
your viewers that don't know, it means foreigner.
Mm.
So there's going to be a totem pole,
Free
and
Japanese lesson right there.
yeah. So there's definitely it's definitely, we're not all, like, in the same
Mm.
category.
True. I must have to throw my questions out the window because we've hit this topic, and this is a topic I can discuss ad nauseum. I can really go into detail on this one. So you mentioned the popular one that the black pillars like to discuss, JBW, and I've got mixed feelings about it. And if I can understand the background and what creates something, then I can argue whether or not it is there or not. But we're also talking about gaijin hunters, and the internet almost paints a certain myth sometimes, or a fantasy, and things become urban legends. And before
Right.
I went to Asia, I'd read stuff on forums and people would tell me absolute BS, but I'd believe, and I'd be like, yeah, they'll be like, oh, you're black in Japan, you're gonna clean up. Oh, you're white, you're gonna clean up. The women will have never seen something like you. Then when you go there, you see how a lot of things are sometimes in people's distorted idea of what reality is. And if I had to summarize, the main thing is, if you don't get girls in your own country, Japan is not going to be the magic cure-all for what you are lacking in life. And it's also why I wanted to discuss Irish masculinity, Japanese masculinity, and also what foreigners have. Because deep down, relating to Rollo's work, there's certain underlying things that exist in every society just to survive. And as you mentioned, Ireland being of 6 million people, very close to other countries, very aggressive countries, might I add. And the reason why Irish culture was even able to survive just throughout time and still be here today is, I believe, certain masculine things, having a strong sense of identity, leadership, and protecting what is yours. And myself being African, when I look at Europe, I try see what made Europe Europe, what made Africa Africa. And a big thing in Europe is very small amounts of land, small amounts of food. Famine used to happen, and there was a lot of competition between different countries and different cultures. And I'm going into almost a really fucked up history lesson to just say that certain competitive environments is what shaped a lot of what makes masculinity masculinity. Now, when you look to Japan, Japan was isolated for a very, very long time. When they went through the time, just geographically, it's far off. And they also went through a time where they went through Sakoku, where they closed off Japanese culture to a lot of other places. And that shaped a lot of the personality and idea of what is masculinity in Japan. Because Japan went through a point where aggression to protect resources wasn't always needed. You needed social status and you needed to be productive and you needed to be almost like a craftsman. So big ego driven, aggressive personalities don't always work in Japanese culture for reasons that were created many hundreds of years ago. However, though, women are still hardwired to respond to certain things. So, a man with direction, a man who's an empire builder, no matter what country is in South Africa, Japan, Ireland, USA, certain of those things are going to click. Something in them just clicks. I will survive if I'm with this kind of man. And I would meet
Right.
Japanese girls who, if I asked them, who's your favorite foreigner, I'd ask it just for fun. And they'd mention, oh, Elon Musk. Now, I went to the same high school Elon Musk went to. But if I tell a
Wow.
Japanese woman, I went to the same high school as Elon Musk, the moisture levels that don't suddenly happen. And I was like, it's different than just where you're from. It's certain behaviors you have to exhibit. So German guys generally do well because they got the brand name. It's like, yeah, Germany, you know what's up. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah.
Mm.
And they kind of expect. But a week in, she'll start to see something's off about this guy. He doesn't have that. It's like a BMW that falls apart. But like, is this a BMW? But the wheels are falling off and the paint is, they'll start to pick out this guy looks French, but he doesn't behave like a French person. And you'll start to see certain traits of behavior more so than just um, stereotypes and what people are saying. And I had to go through a very difficult time where I really analyzed JBW. And I'm like, nah, man, this is bullshit. This is racism. But sometimes when you look deeper into it and you see certain patterns of behavior, the reason why, and I'm going to probably get into trouble for saying this, but the reason why a lot of white guys do well sometimes is not necessarily because they're white, it's because of the way they behave more so than their skin color. And I saw that the reason why, and I'll probably have to stop there because then I'll get myself into even more shit. But um, there are
Wait,
deeper
wait, wait.
underlying
Sorry.
reasons to a lot of things.
Just to stop you there. I'm not familiar with JBW. What is that?
You just mentioned it, where a lot of guys say just be white and go to Japan and you'll succeed.
Oh, okay,
And I'm
okay,
saying you
okay,
have
okay.
to behave in a certain way, more so than your skin color. Sure, maybe on the surface, the Gaijin hunters will see on the surface, but that's not your discerning customer.
Okay.
After a
So
week of dating a Japanese girl, she'll start to reveal all your weaknesses and you'll fall apart. She'll start to
right.
see this guy is not, nah.
So the reason that there's that the myth
Mm,
evolved from the white guys doing well in Japan,
mm,
especially the guys that are clearly punching above their weight, getting with girls that don't match with them. Because, like, I mean, in Japan you see unbelievably hot girls with Japanese men that like are out of shape. You see complete mismatches every single. You come to Japan, you're going to see the hottest girls with the like dorkiest looking, weakest, most feminine, twerpiest looking Japanese guys all the time. But so that's that. But they might have money, all host of different reasons. Plus, there's just beauty is so common here as well. Like it's very common for girls to be. There's a lot of hot girls in Japan. Like, but the reason the myth of white guys just being able to live like some kind of player lifestyle here is because um you know a white guy can come to Japan, and if he tries hard enough, he's eventually going to get with a girl that is probably going to be more aesthetically pleasing than he would be able to get in his home country. But that does not mean that he's going to be able to live the player lifestyle. That does not mean he's going to be able to find a new girl every other week or every week or even once a month. That means he's able to get a girlfriend after trying hard. That's so you sometimes you'll see a white guy with a decent looking Japanese girl, It's like that guy could never get with a girl like that in his home country, and it's probably true. But that does not mean he can live any kind of player lifestyle. That means he can get one pussy and try and hold on to her. That's what that means. So
Yeah.
there's an absolutely massive difference between getting a girlfriend and living a player lifestyle where you're hooking up with like multiple chicks, or you have multiple chicks on a rotation or whatever. There's a very big difference.
Yeah, I'd say
Those
the
guys
levels to it.
cannot do
Yeah.
that.
I'd
Yeah.
agree. There are levels to it. I don't think JBW is a myth. I think it's very real. But on its surface level, it's like saying just be black and go to the NBA. You gotta have a good game. You gotta be tall. You gotta really be an aggressive player. And I made a different video about it where I said if being white is all it, if your whole strategy is just being white and going to Japan, what are you gonna do when there's another white guy next to you? Is he gonna just take your
Not going to
girl?
work
Like he's
out
like
very
he's
well.
whiter. Like there are more elements that you need. You need resources. You need the cool apartment in the right area. You need basic game. And we talked about what is the ideal Japanese person. There's in forums I read there's some things some Japanese women say they're like Japanese black pill women, if I could call them that, and they call it the sanko. You need to have the right university, height, and I believe it was money. Those were like the three things they said they wanted in a man. And Japanese men have to jump a different set of hurdles that foreigners have to jump. Foreigners do
University.
have, yeah, foreigners do
That is some
have,
bullshit.
you don't think so?
No, no, no. I mean, it's news to me. I mean, it's just like, isn't it more important by what kind of job you have? Who cares about your
Yeah.
university? I
If
mean,
you're
if
with a
you're making bank,
Toshiba or a Panasonic, okay. Yeah. If you're one of the part of the big four, I agree.
even more than that, it's like, how much do you make?
Yeah.
Because you could be in the company, you might not make that much. I mean, it
Yeah.
depends what you're doing and how much your salary is. Like,
Mm.
Japanese girls do not underestimate how much Japanese girls are. They're pretty much all gold diggers. Like, they all love money.
It's for survival
Um,
reasons, though, because a Japanese woman in society, I think Japan and Korea worldwide have got the least amount of female CEOs and managers, is because the idea is when a Japanese woman gets married, she's just going to do light work. So she's betting on her future when she's dating a guy. And if she doesn't give a fuck about her future, then she's dating any other dude that just shows up. So
right. Yeah. So, yeah, and a lot of these girls will work. If they're decent looking, if they're good looking, a lot of them will work in the night industry, the
do you
nightlife
think so?
industry.
You go for the gyaru type?
No, I don't go for them, but I mean, a
It's
lot
your
of these
niche?
girls. No, 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 no.
Mm,
I'm just saying, a lot of girls will work. No, in
mm,
general, in Japan, a lot of good-looking girls will work for in what hostess clubs.
mm.
They'll do these jobs. And for anyone who doesn't know, they're basically nightclubs where men go
Hyabakura.
to pay to talk to girls. It's
Mm.
pretty lame, to be honest. It's a weird aspect of the culture. But personally speaking, if I'm gonna pay, I'm gonna rather go to a strip club. But these are not strip clubs. You're just sitting beside a beautiful girl, drinking expensive
And
champagne with
she,
her.
she pours a drink for you ever so elegantly and lights your cigarette. And
That's
she
it.
she
That's it. And
compliments you. Wow, your muscles are so big. Oh, thank you.
and a lot of Japanese men end up actually marrying those women. Like they end up dating and marrying. But
They've
that's a
got they've
whole.
got game though, eh? Japanese women play such an interesting game on a man's ego and the way they can fit into a man's life. Japanese women add they have a certain finesse that they've mastered over the years that I think you can only find in Japan.
That is for true. Like the thing about Japanese women, if they're very beautiful, they will know to
Yeah.
monetize that. They know how to monetize it, and they will try to monetize it. So they're gonna kind of want some monetary gain in order to sleep with a man.
Mm. Mm.
For them to let a man to sleep with them, they'll like try and get him to pay for something or buy
Yep.
or something.
Very, very
Yeah, but that's
skillfully. They'll
that's
they'll
not the
take
way.
their wallet out, but money won't come out of it. When it's time to pay the bill, the wallet will she'll look for it, but the money's not coming out.
Yeah, if she doesn't do that, she's for the streets. Um, if a girl, it's at least they should do it out of etiquette.
Hmm.
Try and offer to pay. But some won't, and it's not a very good sign if they don't.
So I really like how you've mentioned this sort of growing and improving of skills. In in your experiences, what has been the most pimp level, most elaborate date you've pulled? Let's say a date. Or should we say
Pimp
day game? No,
level.
you're a day gamer. Let's go with most elaborate day game that you pulled, where you were like you really showed your power level.
Probably, there's been a bunch of like, a lot of same day lays. I mean,
Mm.
that's it's when you get laid on the same day as they're always that that's kind of the pinnacle. I mean, what more can you do? I mean, if you did a same day threesome, that would be pretty epic.
I
I've never
wouldn't
done a
believe it.
same
I think
day.
it's a scam. NHK is filming me. It's lies.
I've
It's a
done
smear
I've done
campaign.
plenty of threesomes. I've done plenty of threesomes, but I've never done a same day threesome, as in meeting two girls and then banging them on the same day. Threesomes have to be organized in my experience. So that's next on my bucket list. Actually, as soon as you brought it up, next, if I can score a same day threesome
Oh my
with two
goodness.
hotties, that'll be pretty. That'll be one to write home about.
You're gonna need some
No, but
incredible sake to make that happen.
yeah, no, but
Ladies.
same day lays. I mean, it's like when you game a girl and you cold approach a girl and take her on an immediate date, and then you bring them back to your place and you have sex. That's there's the most recent one. I can just briefly explain it is where I was coming back from working out, and well, the most recent best one. This was a girl that, in my opinion, was a 10 out of 10. She ticked all of my boxes. When it gets to that level, it's subjective. Like, guys are like, oh, she's not a 10, she's an 8, 9, but who cares at the end of the day when they're that hot? Um, so yeah, I was coming back from working out. I was kind of wearing my workout gear, wasn't looking particularly fashionable.
And you're a
I was
Puma
coming out,
man.
yeah, yeah.
Oh wow. That's quite fashionable,
And
just saying. Not to
and
contradict what you're saying, but Puma is quite fashionable.
okay, so that this was actually this was a different this was a time this was a time actually where I was going to get some dinner, right? This is a different one. And she, it was like 7 p.m. or something, and I was just going to get some sushi. It was like I was going to have some Japanese food. I was hungry. I didn't have any plans for the night. So there's a place like 10 minutes walk from my house. So I was walking there, and I got to, it was coming up to it's like a station area. There was this cafe, and I noticed this girl sitting alone outside the cafe. And, she was like really hot, really sexy, wearing these like skin tight jeans with kind of rips in them and sexy high heels. And like, she looked, and the face was beautiful. Everything was like, so I just like
And
immediately,
this was
no
in the
hesitation.
daytime.
Daytime, yeah, it was day.
Oh
Well, it
wow.
was like, yeah, 7 p.m. It was, it was still bright anyway.
Yeah. The freaks
Um,
don't come out till like, 1 a.m.
yeah. So, I was like, immediately knew, like, I'll try and get her to come along and have food with me. Try and take her on an immediate date because see what I can do. I opened her. It's always best if you can ask a question like that's relevant to the environment. Do it, like, rather than complimenting her. Like, so I just rolled up to her and said, like, how's the coffee here? It was like a unique coffee shop. It wasn't like a really big chain like
Mm.
Starbucks or anything. So I was like, hey, how's the coffee here? Well, actually, she was wearing earphones, so I had to wave her down. So, and
Oh
she took
wow.
the earphones out.
No F's
She
given.
took the she took the earphones out, and I asked her, how's the coffee here? I've never had it. She was like, oh, it's oishi. Oishi means delicious. And
Mm, mm.
basically, she couldn't understand, so I switched to Japanese, started speaking in Japanese. I asked her the same question, and she was, but it was all in the body language. It's
Yeah.
always in the body language. Immediately she was giggling, she was smiling, she was blushing. These
Mm.
are all like, this girl's like enjoying me. She's comfortable with me talking to her,
Mm.
you know.
And you can see when they're
So I was like,
sizing you up and like
yeah,
the energy is good.
yeah. Some girls will completely like blank you. They'll have like real. They'll go
Yeah.
from maybe smiling to, when you open them, they'll have a major bitch face, and
Yeah.
you'll just know that she doesn't want to talk
You
to you,
see
or
the
she'll just.
Japanese look of disgust. Japanese women always
Um,
smile, even if they don't like you, and they're always very passive. And guys, take notes if you're listening. A Japanese woman never says no.
I mean, well,
Maybe
some of them
means
will.
no. Okay, if she says no, you're going to jail. Then you really fucked up. Yes means
Well, I mean,
maybe. Maybe is
well,
no.
mhm.
No is hell no. Like,
Well, okay. As a day gamer, I'll tell you, like a lot of girls will ice me. Like they won't even recognize my existence. They'll
mm,
like ignore me. Like
oh well.
I'll open them, and they'll ignore me. So that's normal. That's not a
Oh
big
well.
deal. So that happens in day game a lot. Like,
Oh
you
well.
know, get used to it. Big part of day game is not getting butthurt by rejection. Some Japanese girls will ice you out of it.
Mm,
Anyway, this girl did not. She was very receptive, extremely receptive. She like was giggling, smiling.
mm,
So, you know, I said, eventually I just said, you know, let's have, let's go for, you know, I'm going for, I was going to have sushi, but I wanted to bring the thing about games, the thing about, if you want to get a same day lay, you want to be as close to your place as possible.
yep.
So I was like, okay, there's a pizza place right beside my apartment. So I
Location,
said, okay,
location, location.
yeah, I'm gonna have pizza. Like, you want to come with me? Or I didn't say like that. I said, let's have pizza. It's always better
Yeah.
to like be assertive and like say, hey, I'm gonna have pizza. Let's have pizza. It's a really good shop. You know, it's delicious. All that stuff. You know, trying to sell it. You know, and she was like, you know, she was receptive. She was like,
Mm,
oh really? Like, are you sure? And she was a bit hesitant, but she came along. You know, she said, right now, and I was like,
mm,
yeah, today. I was like, let's go. So she came along with me, you know, and just started gaming her along the way, you know, just
mm,
talking to
mm.
her, you know, trying to like, you know, talk, just basic conversation, like really basic shit.
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, asking her about, you know, simple things about, you know, what kind of food she likes, what's her hobbies, and all, you know, all simple stuff.
Mm.
Um, and you know, we're getting along well. We got to the pizza store, and she's you know, the play, it's like at that point it's like it's after 7, obviously. So
Mm.
in Japan it's like a state of emergency, even though it's not. So this place had just started doing like it stopped, like it was only doing takeouts.
Oh,
So
this was
like
during the pandemic lockdowns. Oh snap!
yeah. So, well, I mean, this was only you know, only recently. So
Okay. Did
um
she have her mask on the whole time?
she didn't know, because
Okay.
she didn't. She
Ah,
was
then she
drinking
was
coffee
down.
when I was
She was there to
walking.
meet a dude. Then she
No,
was
but
open
she
for
was drinking
business.
coffee. So anyway,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sure she probably does wear a mask usually. But anyway,
Mm.
she didn't wear it when we were walking towards the pizza store. So yeah, long story short, I was like, "Oh, they're only doing takeouts. How unfortunate!" And I was like, "But it's okay, you know. Like, I'll get a takeout. And we can we can, you know, chill in my place." And she
Mm,
just
mm.
like was she didn't show much hesitation, you know.
Like,
So we just got the pizza to go, and went back to my place. Like, usually when I have a girl back at my place, I always like to try and bang before I eat. So under normal circumstances, like if I have a girl back,
mm.
say, you know, oh, I'm gonna cook you dinner, and like I'll try and smash before we eat, just because it's like
Mad.
it's just makes the experience better. Like you can have sex, then you can eat comfortably, and the you know, enjoy eating, and then you can have sex again after you know, you actually chilled and ate, and you can relax, and it's just ultimately it's just a better time
Mm.
when you play it that way. But since it was a pizza, I was like, fuck it, you know,
Want it
I was
fresh
actually
and
hungry
hot.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we ate the pizza. I took the time. I didn't
Mm.
rush into it. um but I just knew this girl was, I have a bunch of techniques, like
Mm.
escalation techniques, that are actually going to be a part of the
Pandemic pickup, Delta variant. Mm.
pandemic pickup Delta variant. We actually just filmed with a model last week that I, you know, so you know, and these escalation techniques are ones that I use. Like
Mm,
all of them are ones that I really use. Like when you have a girl back at your place, how do you initiate having
mm,
sex with her? How do you start intimacy? So that we actually filmed the different modules on that. But anyway, I'm diverting. So we finished the pizza, cleaned up a bit. You know, I sat down beside her. I knew she was like, everything told me she was open to like fucking. So, you know, I
mm.
just started getting close to her, started like massaging her hands, you know, holding her hands, like while talking with her. And then I think you know, you can a really good way to escalate with some girls is just like by saying, "What's your like perfume? It smells really nice." And then you smell their neck, and then you get in close, and then you ask them to smell yours,
Mm.
and then they get in close, and then you can like kind of you can start like kissing their neck because they're leaning in, like, you know, so you can start like you can just start like lightly like brush your nose against like your face against hers and start like, so, oh my god, you smell so good, it's like really nice. And then you can like you're kind of close with her, so you're like you can initiate by like kind of rubbing your nose or your cheek against hers, and then you can lightly start kissing it and then see how receptive they are, and then you obviously proceed to start to the lips and start like making out with her. And then if she's receptive to that, you know, it's just like game on. So that's
Wow.
exactly what happened with her. And you know, that's kind of like, you know, that's kind of like the best scenario that can happen with day game. And you know, it can happen all the time. It depends on how you know willing you are to source the girls. How many approaches are you willing to do? Because they're out there. You're gonna find them. You just need to keep approaching.
I think you're really living the Japan life because now, if I had to compare, when you mentioned in Ireland how you wouldn't behave like that at all, whereas in Japan, you have so much time to yourself and you see craftsmanship and mastering what you're doing, and you've really had time to focus on getting a process done correctly. That I think that's just over years of thinking about it, trying it again, growth, more maturity. Because where I've seen a lot of guys go wrong in game is that they they shoot themselves in the foot throughout the interaction. They maybe try to do something too grandeur and it just freaks the woman out, and they don't let the woman sort of play her role. And I like how you mentioned again location. The setup of
Location
your
is one
apartment,
of
yeah, is
location
so
is the most
crucial.
is
Yeah,
one of the most important aspects to getting laid from day game.
yeah.
There's a lot of elements when it comes to like getting laid from day game.
Mm,
Like there's how motivated are you, like
yep.
how willing are you to like approach random girls, like how many girls are you willing to approach,
Mm,
where do you live, like how far is your apartment from the
mm,
place you're approaching the girls. Like as soon as you start having to get on any kind of public transport or train or get a taxi, your chances of banging go way down. If you can
yeah.
make it just happen way more naturally, like, you know, like if
Mm.
your apartment is within walking distance of the place you met the girl,
Or
the
Love
chances
Hotel.
of
Mm.
love hotels are much harder, much harder to
Oh
play,
man,
because
I
that's
play
like
Love Hotel
asking a
game.
girl that's like asking a girl to have sex with you, and most girls are not going to respond well to that.
Yeah.
It's not that it's not possible, but it's you're going to leave. If I was to have said, okay, bluntly, like let's
Mm.
just go to a love hotel, a lot of the girls that I had sex with wouldn't have had, you know, wouldn't
Yeah.
have ended up coming back to my place. But when they're
Subtlety.
in the
Yeah.
moment, and it happens naturally, you start making out, they get turned on gradually. But if you go from zero to like, you know, them from being them not being turned on from being just normal, because women are like the
Mm.
lights, you have to turn them on. Like they can't just be, they're not like men, so you need to
Mm.
turn them on. So if you ask them when they're not turned on, oh hey, do you want to just go and hang out at a love hotel, that's like saying, oh, do you want to go and have sex? So they're going to say, oh no, sorry,
Mm.
no, you know, maybe next time, maybe not, and she's not going to see you again. Um, you know, unless you've already escalated with her and made out with her and, you know, turned her on already. But it's going to be hard to do that because you're going to be in busy downtown locations. It's going to be hard to find a spot where you can like, you know, escalate with them to the point where you're like, you know, making out with them. You can. It's not impossible. It's just harder, right?
Playing
You know,
on hard
it's
mode.
not ideal. Yeah.
Wow.
Um.
I
and
really
it's a
like the
fun
way you
thing.
describe that. Subtlety is so key, and almost like performing a sale when buying a product. If you were to go buy a Rolex and the guy just offered it to you in his hand, like, "Hey man, here's a Rolex, give me the money," the
Right.
experience of going through something like that actually cheapens the product. But that nice subtlety of, "Oh, hello, oh, I'll send you the bill later on. Take it now. The bill will
Yeah,
come soon." I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that subtlety of performing a sale like that, you could even sell a cheaper watch for a much higher price. So I think your presentation and letting them come comfortably with you was so key. Wow, I learned how to even clean up quite a bit from your story.
Yeah,
So
man.
guys,
So
pandemic
how?
pickup, Delta variant.
I mean, just out of curiosity, like, how would you play the love? I mean, love hotels. I mean, they're fun, but I mean, how would you play
Oh,
a love hotel? How would you?
I'm a complete crash and burn kind of guy, and I learned from trial and error. So in the beginning, the mistake I made was I went hardcore into my Japanese study. And for anyone trying to do a similar thing, I'll tell you, Japanese is for talking to dudes and for your quality of life in Japan. But when talking to girls, speaking Japanese, you'll shoot yourself in the foot. Um, like I can even
I
imagine
just
your
did.
story with more Japanese. Ah, sumimasen, chotto, ii desu ka? Like she's already like, "Doop. Nope, fuck this guy."
No, I mean,
That
no,
yeah,
like there's no Japanese is used as a tool of communication. I mean,
yeah.
it's definitely worth it's definitely worth learning like Japanese. Absolutely. Like if you're like because there's plenty of girls out there that just can't
Yeah.
speak any English and they don't even have basic communication skills. So it's going to be really hard to like just even game her with even really basic questions like what kind of food do you like, like it's you're like that's the kind of level they're not even gonna. So not like no, like I mean, use Japanese if you Japanese is fine as long as you're not behaving because it's a
Mm,
tool. If you're not if you because girls ultimately they want to hook a new experience. They want to
yeah.
maybe hook up with a foreigner. Like they're gonna see you as a foreigner.
Mm,
They're not so that's the element you have to approach it with. So
mm,
speaking Japanese is just used as a tool.
agreed.
And you're
And
not
I
going to shoot
think
yourself in
yeah.
the foot if you don't if you just use it. You
Mm,
don't have to behave like a Japanese because if you behave you're Japanese, that's going to be a turn off because they're
yeah.
not. You're kind of like okay, this foreigner's trying too hard. He's not.
Incongruent, doesn't work. It's
Yeah,
like meeting a
mm,
Japanese person who sounds exactly like she's from Ireland. It's like, what's going on with her? I want the real
right.
sort of thing. I think
Yeah,
it also helped me because then I end up speaking less. So sometimes it's better to speak a bit less in game and only say what is necessary and less chance of you saying something dumb. And
right.
sarcasm does not translate at all to Japanese
Yeah,
game. So
it doesn't. You can have fun with it though. Recently, sometimes I don't wear a mask out in public at all, but sometimes if I see a girl not wearing a mask, I'll open her by saying, oh my God, like you should take care. It's very dangerous. There's a lot of, there's a
mm,
virus going around. It's very dangerous. And they don't get it. But I mean, I have fun doing it. They're like,
oh,
this guy's crazy because obviously I'm not wearing a mask and then they're not wearing a mask. But some girls get it and they laugh, but others don't. But that's fine. It's like,
and I think it's also
it's like,
crucial for a
I'm
man to
just having
lead.
fun.
Yeah. And I think if you're having fun, you lead.
Yeah.
That was also a big
Big
thing
part
that
of
hit me in
game.
Japan.
Big part of game is having fun and kind of enjoying the pro. If you're like if it's a chore, like if you're like really like not really if you're only doing it like obviously your end goal is to get laid. Of course you want
Mm,
to get laid, but like if you're just like it's a complete chore and you just want to get to the sex, then it's probably not gonna you're probably not gonna do too well with it.
mm,
You
totally.
gotta like enjoy the seduction process.
True, true. What do you think of Hub as a date location? Hub is like
As
this
a
popular
date,
British themed bar franchise, and I forever
yeah.
find myself ending up in Hub. So,
I mean, I used to not like it. I
yeah.
used to like think it was because you'd made all the basic bitches in there, and you
AKA the girls
kind
I'm
of
dating.
just kind of got annoyed by the vibe in there, by the same kind of like yeah. But ultimately, it's a spot. It's a good pickup spot, not a date. I wouldn't go on a date there. No, there's no need. Why would I go on a date there? I never brought a girl to on a date to Hub. Well,
So I
as
can
a
use my
pickup spot,
point card.
as a pickup spot, absolutely.
Oh,
Um, you shouldn't be bringing girls on dates to bars. I mean, unless it's a small bar and unless the bar is near your apartment, and that's unless the Hub is near your apartment, like you know, don't the ultimate goal like is to get the girl to your location, to your area, and
mm,
then you know depending on their interest level, sometimes you're able to meet them and walk them back to your place without going anywhere with them. Sometimes you'll have to like break the ice with some coffee or a drink or something.
true.
You don't really want to be taking them for dinner or lunch, but occasionally you can do that. You want to shoot for coffee or a drink
Yep.
always, and then and then sometimes you can make an exception, but you don't want to get into the habit of constantly taking girls for dinner or
Yep.
lunch or shit.
Unless it's
Because like
Caesarea, then they can have all
unless
they
it's
can eat,
size
all they can
area,
drink, and
all
then all is
the,
well.
but yeah, it's just better. It's just better not to be, unless it's size area.
Yeah.
But
Baby, it's all me.
you know,
Eat up, have more.
or sometimes what I do is I get I meet them at the station, and I'll say, I'll just say, do you like coffee? And then,
Mm.
sometimes we don't discuss what we're doing, and that's a good sign. If
Yep.
they come to meet me and they haven't asked like why, why are we meeting there? What are we doing? A good sign is like I'll just say, "Do you like coffee?" when we meet, and just I'll greet them and say, "Oh, you want some coffee?" And she say, "Yeah, yeah, I like coffee." I'll bring them to this coffee. It's kind of a nice. I won't bring them to like a nice coffee shop,
Mm.
but I'll just get them to go. Like
Mm.
sometimes I'll just get them to go, and I'll buy them whatever. And we'll walk in the direction of my house, and I'll gamer along. It's a 10-minute walk, so you know, some of them will come in, some won't. I'd say at that point, if a girl has done that, if a girl has come to my area, she has like not asked like why we're meeting, like we have the coffee, we reach my apartment, and I say, hey, let's go in and check out my apartment. Most of them are coming in at that point.
Mm.
Some don't. Like some say yada, yada, or no.
Mm.
Like, yada means no.
Yeah.
Yada is a strong no.
Yeah.
So in that case, I'll walk them to the park, and I'll shoot again on the way back home. Um, but usually if they say like like a strong no, or
Yeah.
like most of them, that means they're not going to come in. Um, but it's like it saves you time. I mean,
Yeah.
like you going on the date, like you like taking to a fancy meal it's gonna be more frustrating because you're gonna shoot for the same thing. So you could spend like 2 hours like taking them to a 3-course meal and
True.
spending like $70 on a meal or whatever. And who knows, it might maybe even more, like $100.
True,
And
eh?
then
Better to
you bring,
lose and lose quickly. Just
yeah,
fail and fail quickly.
yeah,
Let them ghost you like Tsushima. Get those,
yeah,
when you get those just read online and you're like, shit.
yeah.
Just fail
So
quickly, and eventually a
I
gaijin hunter will
I
come your way.
right. So from trial and error, I can tell you this is a fact, right? This is a fact. Like you spending 20 minutes on a date, spending hours on a date isn't going to change the outcome.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned over time. I used to be that idiot that would spend like way too long on dates. And all I would be thinking after a while is like, how am I going to fuck this girl? How am I going to
Yeah.
like, and just obviously now I've learned for the longest time, I know that, shoot your shot. Like just try it. Like it's not gonna. Either she's gonna come or she's not. Like so.
Mm.
Like you spending another hour on the date isn't going to change the outcome. That is just a fact. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always say to guys, an hour is plenty of time to like for her to have made her decision about you, like for her to either play ball or not.
Mm.
So an hour. Sometimes you can shoot way sooner. Like I said, sometimes I just get the coffee and like walk her literally just back to my place. Sometimes she's looking a little bit cold, so I'll sit in the coffee shop and try and let her know that I'm not, let her know that I'm a cool guy, gamer. Talk to her normally, like try and like initiate touch, try and touch her hand a little bit. sometimes you need that a little bit, but ultimately you shouldn't be spending too long on dates. Some guys are idiots. A lot of guys are idiots. They spend like hours on dates thinking that
Trips to
it's almost like
Disneyland, Tokyo Disney Sea, Osaka. It is freaking ridiculous. Like I
should
couldn't
never
agree
be
more.
taken. You
And
should
Japanese
never be
women will
taking
use
it
you
down.
just like any other country. They will use any fool happily, happily,
Oh yeah.
happily. Yeah.
No, you
And
never take a girl to Disneyland, but
mm,
unless you at least have had to fuck her at least once before you're doing that. Like, I mean, no, you don't. Like, she'll think you're weak if
mm,
you do that right off, and she'll ghost you after. You could
yeah.
have the most amazing day. You could actually have fun with her, girl.
Mm,
You have fun with her. You take her to Disneyland. Just Japanese girls are probably going to be more likely to ghost you after doing that. She'll be like, "Oh
mm,
yeah, she'll be back to her friends. Oh, we had such a fun time.
yeah.
And oh, are you going to meet him again? Oh, probably
Mm,
not.
not yeah.
That's just Japanese girls. Like it's because you were too like you're
Yep.
being punished for being a nice guy.
Or she'll
They
get
will
free
punish
English
you.
lessons, and then one day, can my boyfriend also get free English lessons too? You'll be like, what?
Man, these girls will punish you for being a nice guy. They will absolutely punish you. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's like, you want to shoot your shot. You want to try and you always want to be closing.
Yeah.
MLD says it too. You always like, if you like try and if you think, okay, I'm gonna try and like play it safe. I'm just gonna wait for the third date because
Yeah.
I'm a good guy and I don't want to mess this up with this girl. You will get punished for it, and she
Big
will
time.
ghost you, and the juice won't be worth the
Yeah.
squeeze. You should be
Japan
trying to fuck
punishes
these
men
girls
who
on the
don't
first
plan.
date.
Really punishes men who
Right.
don't plan. Like,
Oh yeah.
mm,
So yeah, it's just time and time again. I've learned the hard way. I've learned this through years of doing this. Like I used to think like, oh, you can't try and fuck on the first date.
you know,
But I mean, I've learned for many years now. I know that I've been roughly having the same blueprints
yeah.
like for my dates, like the same kind of before when I was more naive, I would only wait for the second or
Yeah.
third, and I'd often get punished. I'd
Because
often
that's
be
what
like
works.
after
It worked in the
you know
past, so that'll work. Yeah.
because you're leading up like if you go on 3 dates with a girl, who knows, that can take up to a month, even
Mm,
more, to like get to that stage. Like by the third date, there's too much pressure put on. The girl knows kind of that, oh, it's this
yeah.
fucking stereotypical guy is going to make his move after he's going to ask me back to his place. It's
Mm,
boring, man.
yeah.
So when you like just shoot your shot on the first date, they almost don't expect it, and it's like it's refreshing, and they can get really turned on by it too because
Sometimes
it's
that's what they want, eh? Sometimes, because also they're very passive about the way they communicate. So sometimes you'll have an interaction, and you can sort of, like in a typical manga where they show like especially a shoujo manga, this high school girl manga. Her face is smiling, then there's her inner thoughts that are talking, and she's gauging how strong you are. I feel like almost every Japanese woman or any woman, even in South Africa, the first interaction, she's gauging how strong and how confident and how direct you are. And even if she
right,
rejects you, she'll have more respect for you for going after what you wanted. Which for the
right.
strongest time, I didn't want to be like, a chocolate version of Logan Paul, just fucking up in Tokyo. But sometimes that's what they want. They want a
Yeah.
guy who's a
I,
crazy foreigner, not like Japanese guys. They want something completely different. And when I started to realize that, then I was like, man, this thing is all. There's like a pattern to it. There's a game-like quality to game. So
yeah, they want to meet a savage, the guy that's going to go after it, or going to have this crazy wild sex
yeah,
with. And you can have the most amazing sex and they'll have a good time, but you won't see them again. But if you
mm,
didn't sometimes you'll see them again, but
mm,
it depends on the girl. But if you don't shoot your shot,
yeah,
all they're doing, a lot of these girls, they think, oh, I'm going to meet a foreign guy and possibly bang him. And if you don't shoot your shot on the first date, she'll be like, "This guy's a wimp.
yeah,
I'm kind of bored. I kind of, all I wanted was for him to fuck me.
mm,
I'm not going to date him. A lot of these guys kind of just want a new experience. If they're willing to go on a date with you, they're kind of possibly thinking like, okay, I'm gonna have this crazy
yeah,
hot sex with a foreign guy, and that'll be that. some of these girls will have boyfriends too, so that's
Yep.
exactly what they want.
And they'll
They
invite
won't
the
tell you, but
boyfriend. You won't be far from there. She'll be like, "Oh, I'm gonna see my boyfriend later. We've only got an hour, and you have to be there and confront your demons and be like, is this the
if
man
a
I've become?"
if a girl is saying that is on a date with you and she has a boyfriend,
Hmm,
I will immediately like if I it just let's just say I like
hmm,
go for a coffee with a girl,
hmm.
and just as I'm about to buy the coffee, she's like, oh, by the way, I'm meeting my boyfriend in an hour. I only have like 40 minutes. I'll be like, excuse me, I'll have those coffees to go,
Yeah.
please. Because we're either going to my house. I'm not wasting any time. I'm gonna try and take you to my house and smash
Hmm.
right now. Like, and if she doesn't have to come in, obviously, but I'm gonna walk her to my house, and she's either gonna come in or she's not. But I'm not gonna be one of those fucking cuck guys that
Yeah.
is gonna like be giving out English lessons or whatever. While
They
you know
love to cuck guys. They get drunk on the power of having all that beauty. They just like, they love it, love it, love it. Sometimes they want to even live vicariously through you. So because they have to act so feminine all the time, they want to live their masculinity vicariously through you. They want to know what it's like to be around freaking, Genghis Khan, who's freaking destroying everything. And I'm like, my dear, you'll kill us both. So you also have to sometimes reel her in and be like, "Yeah, look, we're not going to do all that. Fight this guy. No, 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 we're not going to do that." But yeah,
mm,
it is
yeah,
an important thing. I now want to segue quite nicely to now foreign women in Japan.
right.
How have you seen that contrast? Because every so often, that international baddie always passes through Tokyo, and no one knows English, and you always have to meet. There's always those where I think Tokyo really tests you. You'll see what you're about. You'll be tested financially, you'll be tested mentally, spiritually. So how have you found foreign women in Japan?
Foreign women for the most part are not. I don't think they're of very high caliber. They don't last very long in Japan unless they're the yeah. Foreign women in general don't last very long in Japan.
Mm,
Vast majority of them don't stay here more than 2 years. I would say they come through and they get very Japan is very kind of a lot of the foreign women come here very progressive. Women are herd creatures, so they
mm,
they follow like all the progressive kind of the American kind of hot topics and shit. So whatever's going on in social media, they'll be on it. Me Too and all this kind of stuff.
mm,
So that kind of shit doesn't fly in Japan. It does to an extent. Like there's like in a little niche market, but in general, they don't. Japanese people don't care about it. It does not like they're not talking about it. So their progressive ideals don't really fly here in Japan. So
mm,
plus, like Japanese women are extremely feminine, and there's a lot of very a lot of very beautiful women here.
mm,
So the competition is extremely high. So they kind of get dismissed. So apart from the
mm,
some Japanese guys that might fetishize white women, but vast majority of Japanese men absolutely wouldn't really want much to do with most of the foreign women here. There are some extremely like hot model types that pass through, but they're the vast majority of foreign women that come here just doing teaching English or whatever, normal jobs or so they're not very most of especially when they're like that, they're not very attractive. um and it's even more, the contrast is even more, there's much more of a contrast because
mm.
there's, like I said, Japanese women are very beautiful for the most, like your average Japanese girl is like pretty decently hot. She'll at least have a nice figure even if her
Mm.
face isn't pretty. You know what I mean? Like I always think like the Japanese girls that are actually ugly got really unlucky. Like, because sometimes you see ugly Japanese girls and it's like, damn, it's quite unlucky because most girls are
They
pretty hot here.
always get scooped up. Go to any hip hop club, everything must go. It's an everything must go sale. I've never seen a Japanese woman who can't get picked up in a hip hop club. Never.
Right.
No matter
Yeah, yeah.
how desperate the situation looks, there's always a buyer.
Right. there's always, I mean, that goes for any country though. I mean, there's the thirst. Don't underestimate the
Yeah,
thirst of men. Men are
yeah.
extreme, especially
We'll
in
take
this world we're living
anything.
in. This
Scraping
world
the
we're living
bottom
in.
of the pot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another interesting subject you can talk about, where like a lot of the Gaijin hunters have been somehow discarded by Japanese men. Like there's something a little bit unattractive about them. They might
Yeah.
be perfectly fine for your average foreign guy, but for like the creme that like you, yeah, you can't underestimate when you have to come to Japan to actually witness the perfection you can see here. I don't want to be sounding like some kind of simp or like worshiping, but Japanese
11
girls
out
put
of
so much
10.
effort into their physical appearance, like on
Mm,
top of their genetics. So it's
yeah.
like there's a lot. Like seriously, come to Japan, you're going to see a lot of very attractive women. Like especially you go to, you go down, you're in
Yeah.
downtown Tokyo, because Tokyo attracts like all the hottest girls from all over
Yeah.
Japan. So
I
you
was
know,
thinking about that actually some years back, and I was thinking that if when you just look at Tokyo, you've got 12 million people in a very, very small, okay, I don't want to say small, but they're very interconnected, and you are very visible. And the reward you get for just looking a little bit better is so much higher than if I was staying in, let's say, the Sahara Desert, and I'll meet maybe one or two people every month. Whereas in Tokyo, I'm always around tens of thousands of people just Shibuya crossing. That and I used to love my street photography, so I'd be there, and just looking a little bit better opens up so many more opportunities for you that I even found it in myself that the pre-Japan me would maybe I'll get a pair of Nikes and I wouldn't really clean them. I'll just be like, nah, I'll see.
okay,
Yeah.
mm,
When I it was in Tokyo for about a year, I started to realize just buying a little bit more expensive this or a little taking a little bit more care to this, uh, the effect was so much more. So then when you mentioned those elite, beautiful Japanese women, they're almost like a collector's edition Barbie doll. They never get taken out the package. It's because the price they can fetch is
oh
just
yeah,
so high. It wouldn't make sense for them to
yeah,
even be dating, get tainted by a cheap gaijin or even a cheap
yeah,
Japanese person. The price they're able to get is just so high,
yeah,
and that can only exist in that sort of environment. And what I found is that certain foreign women as well, those who also start drinking the Japanese Kool-Aid and also see that if I just get a little bit better, I can get more TV gigs or this. So,
right,
uh, as a photographer, I used to find models uh, of all type and OnlyFans models, uh, the whole thing. And they also found that the Tokyo hustle hits you. You're like, oh, I have to do a little bit better. And then I also found myself spending more on camera gear. Like, if I can play a harder game, more is achieved. So just that environment, it affects you, and you start to play a different game. And
right,
YouTube is also kind of becoming like that. Like even now, the effort I'm putting into my YouTube channel is because I've seen just a little bit more has such a big effect. So I think, in my opinion, that's one of the reasons that creates that those elite Japanese women. Maybe,
yeah.
yeah.
That's did you ever, I also do photography too, so
Big
that's kind
time.
of
I
like,
actually found you, funny enough, through your photography. Uh, Not even the game. So funny
okay.
thing. Hmm.
Yeah, so even though that's shadow banned as fuck, it's been like I've had 970 followers for like a year, like the longest time. They don't let
Hmm.
it grow. I don't know why, because
Your
I don't know.
content is out there, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. Your content is out there. Whether if you did pics of Tokyo Skytree or Tokyo Tower, it's easier for people to like follow.
Yeah, man,
You are like
it is what it says on
express
the tin. It's
myself.
erotic.
Yeah.
It's erotic photography.
Mm,
It's not like, and I don't want to sound pretentious about it.
mm,
Like I'm a straight male.
mm,
It's like I like women. I genuinely like photography, so I'm just connecting the two. So
mm,
it's like I like, because some guys, they don't really like photography. They just want to shoot naked women, and you can
mm,
see that from their shitty photos. But my photos, I know, are not shit. There's an
mm,
aesthetic to them. I know what a good image is. Like I studied art.
mm.
It's like I'm combining the both. Yeah, like you could almost say the camera is like an extension of my dick, but uh, but
I've never heard that
Because
one.
like I'm a straight male. Like
Mm,
it's not like, I'm pretending, oh, it's just about the art, baby.
mm,
Oh,
mm,
it's just like, no, it's like it's not sexual, because you get these pretentious
mm,
motherfuckers talking about, oh, it's, these guys are deny,
mm,
they just want to see naked women, but they're like, they put some spin behind it that it's like, oh, it's just about the art, baby. It's like, oh, it's just an image. Stop
mm,
sexualizing women. And it's like, dude, these are hot fucking women. I like, you know what I mean? I'm just
mm.
combining the two. I don't deny that it's like, because sometimes, some beta male wimps will like criticize me. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you just women too. We'll be like, oh, you just want to see naked women. Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
you're right. No, plus I do want to see naked women, but I enjoy making nice imagery out of it.
Yeah, I'd almost
Um,
advise that to so many photographers not to simp out with their cameras because so many guys fall into that trap of having no real substance. So they try to show off to women that, oh, I've got the new Nikon, new Sony, new this. She'll happily take your pictures for free and advertise to get herself a different guy. So I always tell guys, if you're about it, be about it. Like if you're
yeah,
dating, date, but trying to simp out with a camera, no, just tell her what's up. This is what it is. But yeah,
yeah. Well, I mean, girls see they see my Instagram, like they know what my photos are about.
hmm. No
Um,
free profile
uh,
pictures here, hun.
huh?
They know no free profile pictures because so many people fall into the trap of giving away free photo shoots in the hopes of getting a date. And nope, the
Oh
photo
yeah,
shoot is the
I,
date.
I give the girls the data or whatever, but it's like, it's it's like it's the it's my photo shoot, so it's like my kind of, it's obviously that's going to be an erotic photo shoot. It's not like I'm not, obviously when I hit them up, when we exchange Instagram in real life, or I DM them, they see the portfolio. They know that it's like
Mm.
mostly like, nude or semi nude, or
And there's so many
so.
elements of game within that, even sourcing clients. I think, as you mentioned, being able to read the body language, being able to invite someone for the experience. And I actually first saw your work. It was the pics you took with Mia V, Mia
Oh,
V,
me
the
and
Argentinian uh, model. How did you network like that? Because again, you mentioned she's got such a big following, but you were able to present
Yeah, I don't know.
an opportunity to take pictures.
I just DM'd her. I'm surprised she saw it, but
Mm,
she just answered my DM. And she was looking for, obviously she does OnlyFans and stuff like that.
mm,
So like she's obviously always looking for photographers. So it just worked out. I wanted to shoot erotic photography, and she wanted a cameraman, like, because she needs content for,
mm.
so it worked out.
But still,
Just
though, you did multiple shoots with her, and I think had you not had game and social calibration, because she probably meets a lot of creeps and she can sniff out um, weirdos quite well. So I think had you not had game and not had social calibration, photographer or not, in
yeah,
my
you
opinion,
need
yeah,
game, social calibration, all that. Yeah,
yeah. Had you
but
had
it
you had you done the lame thing? Oh, I've got the latest camera, my dear. Oh, yes, we should do that. Like they sniff it out and like, nah, this guy's
yeah,
fucked
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah, 100%.
Impeccable. Anyway, I think yeah, we've had a pretty wild conversation. I think on that note, we can sort of wind things up. I want to thank you again for scheduling me in the very, very wild live streaming schedule you've got. I believe you are broadcasting every day.
Yeah, just doing it every day up until for this launch that we're doing on the 30th.
Mm.
So yeah, it's all good though.
Okay.
It's gonna be a good course.
Mm, mm. Okay, well, I must definitely say, viewers, please check out his stream. And it's very motivating to see people go through again that journey of growing a skill, attacking something every single day, and figuring out new things about it. And the more you do this stuff, not only do you learn more about the world, you learn more about yourself and how you operate. So, on that note, I think we can end it there. Please check out Mac the Day Gamer's channel, Pandemic Pickup. Delta variant coming soon on the 30th. That is the launch.
Launching on the 30th. Yep. So go to my website, Macthedaygamer.com, scroll down to the bottom of the page, put in your best email, and then you're going to be kept up to date, and you're going to get the sign up link on when it launches, and it's only open for 5 days. So, it's a limited enrollment thing, and then we close it off and we start the course on the 6th. Live webinars, that is.
Brilliant. Incredible marketing. And I think throughout this entire conversation, we've seen how marketing is about life and how you interact with people. So much to learn is in there. Okay. Thanks everyone for watching, and more crazy episodes coming soon.